General, everyone who has been here so far is thank you for coming. I want to thank you too, but to be very honest, very bold, if you and Ms. Garver had actually made better decisions, we wouldn't be here talking about this, and both of us would be much happier in that situation. There are some specific questions I'd like to ask. I'll try and be as brief as I can with any of them. It was brought out by Ms. Giffords, but he didn't really speak specifically to this particular issue, that with the Minuteman ground-based missile decisions that were made last year, as well as the canceling of Constellation, it's left the industrial base in shambles. And we obviously know that Secretary Gates was not consulted with this, Secretary Donnelly was not, AFMC was not as well, and if obviously you talked about acquisitions, you obviously didn't listen to what they said. So, sir, did you consult with the Department of Defense on the impact of the industrial base before you made this catastrophic announcement?
Congressman, let me be very careful about how I answer your question. I did not have detailed discussions with anyone in...
Did anyone in your office then have discussions with them? And I need you to be brief, I'm sorry.
I have had informal conversations with senior persons in DOD from the time that I came into office because I wanted to reach out across agencies in the government. So I have talked with members of DOD. I have talked to them about, while not talking specifically about the impact of cancellation of the Constellation program, I asked for information on the impact of to the industrial base, particularly with reference to solid rockets.
Good. With whom did you speak?
Sir, I have. If you ask General Cartwright if I've spoken to him, he will tell you yes, I've spoken to him. But those were not formal meetings, and they were not formal deliberations.
Anyone else, though? Anyone else with whom you had consultations?
Sir, those are. I can go through. I will provide you the information for the record. I will get it to you.
Your comptroller wouldn't do that, so I appreciate if you do that right now. Are you aware of the Department of Defense report to Congress on the solid rocket motor industrial base issue that was addressed last year?
I am not aware of that report. I am aware of a report that Dr. Holdren prepared. I read it.
Not that one. Go back to the original one from acquisitions. I appreciate if you look, especially on page 47, where it says if there is delay in Constellation, it has a significant negative impact on the defense side of this equation. Canceling it, has to be a very significant negative impact at the same time.
I will go back and.
Are you currently, because we talked to Secretary Donnelly yesterday, are you currently having discussions with Secretary Donnelly on this issue?
I am not. Since you put it. Me directly, I am not having discussions with anyone right now. There are discussions on the space policy review that is underway, and persons in my organization are participating in those meetings.
Since he said he'd had to get back to me on something on record, would you be willing to talk to him about that?
Yes, sir. I
appreciate that. Ms. Edwards asked you specifically about the Russians and the cost that would come to this particular program. When the contract currently with the Russians is up and they have the monopoly on spaceflight, which will take place for quite some time, do you have any anticipation, or could you give me any kind of guess of what they will charge us to provide that services for us? Do you have any clue of what that will be?
Sir, we're in negotiations with the Russians right now, and so I would prefer not to. In fact, I won't discuss cost or any progress on that.
Do you have an estimate then on cancellation costs? Your budget puts around $2.5 billion.
We are evaluating right now what the potential cancellation costs are, and
thank you.
We can get that to you for the record, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That's consistent with, I think it was Mr. McCall that you said that to. You really don't have a handle on what that cancellation cost would be, which, I hate to admit this, to me is somewhat of a backwards approach. It would be nice for a congressman or somebody who's making policy decisions if we knew what the cost would be before you actually make that decision and jump to the next particular level. Like, I only got about 40 seconds with you, and I apologize for that. There were some other questions. There was a Space News article that came out which seemed to contradict the letter that you sent to us. I hope, for the record, sometime you will clarify whether the Space News was wrong and its implications on whether you're actually closing down programs for record or whether your letter was wrong to us. But I have to say just one last thing. When you said you are building a bold new path for the future, and you're coming up with, what was it, programs, summers of inspiration for kids to encourage them. In all due respect, when you have a president and you who said you want to encourage kids to become involved in science, math, and engineering, or STEM's programs, I have to really admit to you that the summers of inspiration is not going to fool a kid in college or in high school or junior high right now who looks at 20 to 30,000 private sector jobs who are involved in science, math, and engineering being given a pink slip and the kind of chaos that goes to their particular life is not going to encourage anyone else to become involved in this area or any other area. This is a negative impact. It's a negative message. There is certainly no inspiration with this. This is not a program for a bold new path. It's more like managing America's decline. And I'm very much disappointed in the approach that NASA is taking on this particular effort, and I apologize right now. I wish I could give you more time. I only have I've already gone over 33 seconds and counting, and I apologize for that, Mr. Chairman, as well. I tried to get in 5 minutes, but I'm sorry that we have to meet here.